So, one thing that we have been asked a lot by people that are considering either the Pikes Peak or the RS is how we feel about the two different bikes. So we thought we'd bring you a little video about it. We do actually have a comparison of some of the older Multistradas as well. You will find the link in the description to that video. Well, this Pikes Peak was the sportiest Gran Turismo engined Multistrada. Obviously had the suspension, the brakes, the 17-inch front wheel, the geometry to go with making a Multistrada as sporty as possible. But I guess when you're trying to make the Multistrada as sporty as possible, it should also come with the sportiest engine. And that's what the RS is. They've put the Desmo engine in it. But for some strange reason, really, I can't figure out why. And there's not many people I've met that can figure out why. They've then reduced the power of the Desmo engine. The marketing media will have you believe that it's not actually been restricted as such. It's been tuned to be a more touring friendly bike. We'll come back to comparing it to the Street Fighter and the Panigale later on. I mean, obviously we're a tuning firm. We're all about the data that the dyno gives us and the power plots, and we translate that into how we think it's going to ride on the road. But actually riding it on the road, there is quite a big difference, I believe, between the Pikes Peak and the RS. The RS feels significantly sportier to me. The brakes feel better. They give you a little bit more feedback. I said this in an older video. I don't know whether they used a different compound in the pads or not. Probably because of the lighter weight of the wheels, it does feel like it tips in better. It handles a little bit better. Once it's in the turn, it feels a lot more neutral in the turn. It doesn't want to stand back up again. But comparing it to what a Street Fighter is capable of, I don't think they've really liberated the power of the Desmo engine. My age, it certainly starts to get a little bit more comfortable on a touring bike. On the RS or any of the Multistradas, you've got a huge amount of wind protection. I mean, I've had my RS to 160 odd miles an hour and it sits there stable in the wind. You're not being blasted off the bike. When I start to get to 120 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour on either the Hyper Mortard or the Street Fighters, I just feel like a great big sail and I'm being pulled off the back of the bike. It's taking a huge amount of energy to either tuck down or just to hold yourself onto the bike. Also, I think the Street Fighter just feels a little bit harsher on the road. It's probably the way that the suspension is set up. The Multistradas feel a lot more plush, but it still feels hugely capable of handling whatever you're going to be able to throw at it. Not put it on a track yet. Well, we did intend to do it over the summer, but we never actually managed to get around to it. I should imagine it's fairly colossal. Everybody else that I know that's ridden them are reporting that back. But if we just compare the RS to the Pikes Peak, these are the stock runs at 100% or wide open throttle. The Pikes Peak makes 153 or thereabouts. I mean, we've done so many of them. I've just picked a stock Pikes Peak and taken the maximum power from it. They make 153 or just above that sometimes. And the stock RS makes 166. However, that 13 brake horsepower only comes in above 8.5, 9,000 RPM, and below 9,000 RPM, 6,000 RPM actually, at wide open throttle. The Pikes Peak is actually making 15 horsepower more than the RS. Once you map the bikes, which is obviously what we're interested in, and once you can actually liberate the real potential of that bike, the Pikes Peak makes 161 to probably 163 depending on the bike that you're measuring, and the RS that we've done has made 180. We have extended the RPM limit to above 14,000. At 6,000 RPM, again, the Pikes Peak is still 15 horsepower up. As we were discussing when we were talking about the general riding of the bike, I did feel that the RS was significantly more sporty in the way that it rode. If you look at the map plots at 40% accelerator opening, you can see at 10,000 RPM, the RS is significantly more powerful. It's bringing down 49 horsepower compared to the Pikes Peak's 31. And in actual fact, above 5,000 RPM, the RS really starts to come to life and will carry on making more and more power as the revs increase. As you get higher up in the accelerator opening, the torque and the lower RPM power of the Pikes Peak starts to show itself again and starts to become evident. and you see that really the RS does need to be revved to make the extra power. Now, we were saying that the RS was supposed to be a sportier engine fitted into the Multistrada chassis, but tuned to make more power lower down. Well, really, if we compare a stock, this is a stock Street Fighter, is a blue plot, and the stock RS is the red plot. The two plots are pretty much overlaid till you get to 9,000 RPM, and then at 9,000 RPM the Street Fighter carries on making power, and the RS does actually start to plateau off a little bit, even though it's making more power than the Pikes Peak. The Street Fighter or the Panigale go on to make about 189 or 190 brake horsepower against the RS's 166. So I really got to ask yourself the question, have they retuned it, or have they just decapitated it a little bit? Have they thought, do you know what, in a touring bike we're not going to give them the full power that this bike's capable of? And you can see where the plots end. As opposed to 14,000 RPM, we've now got about 12,800 RPM. When the true potential of the RS is liberated, in the mapped version here you can see at 6,000 RPM we lose that dip, and the bike does carry on producing power and stays far nearer the Street Fighter's capabilities. We're still 9 or 10 horsepower down on what the Street Fighter is capable of. Yeah, so to really liberate the power of the RS, I think we are going to have to make a few hardware modifications. We will bring them to you when we get to the stage 2 conversion on the bike. Please do hit the like, subscribe, and the bell icons. They will keep you notified. We have got some really good modifications planned for the RS. It is going to be a full development bike for us, and we really hope you're going to enjoy coming along with us on the journey.